Evolution is creation's way of expanding and experiencing itself. It is infinity clothing itself in the finite. Intelligence broadcasting itself through 7 billion brains. Evolution is mind at large, localizing itself so it can see itself, fall in love with itself. Evolutionary creators and leaders know this. They are carriers of light, wisdom, compassion. They work for the benefit of the whole family. Their well-being is tied to the well-being of all. Oneness is all they know, all they are, all they seek. This is how you know them.
I call it triple bottom line thinking. It's a characteristic of concern for something other than just my own benefit. So triple bottom line thinking is the kind of thinking that asks the question, is it good for me? Is it good for you? And is it good for the planet? And in my mind, visionary leadership is a leadership that takes that into account. Just in the same way that the Native American tradition, when they're considering an important decision, they will ask the question, how does this impact the next 7 generations? And that's an important thing to bring to your deliberations, to have a standard that you live up to. So visionary leadership is a kind of leadership that has those parameters in the context of its deliberation to say, yes, this is a good decision if it's a decision that's good for business or good for me, good for people, the community, and good for the planet.
I would say from the lunar landing to the millennium, to this planetary birth would be a sequence. Because the lunar landing, we got up into space and saw ourselves.
Right.
That was an amazing experience.
Yes.
The millennium, we saw ourselves celebrate all over the earth something new.
Right.
And it wasn't from the state, it wasn't from the church, it wasn't from the corporations, it was the people. So when you say the planetary birth, it's going to be the people and the children. Nobody is an expert in how we make it through to the next stage after this birth.
Right.
There are no elders over there who say, oh, this is how you do it, folks.
Right.
How you get over a high technology, overpopulating, polluting, fighting species. But intuitively, those of us attracted to this birth already feel the oneness, the wholeness, the goodness, but it's got to be emphasized and coherent.
Science is coming up with a great deal of research that reveals the power and importance of our energy fields, of our emotional state, of our attention to mindfulness practices or spiritual practices. Science itself is revealing to us that if we live in a state of higher awareness about our own thoughts, about the words that we speak, knowing that what we speak on Tuesday becomes the life that we live on Thursday, that is the sign of a true leader, that the leader keeps the community mindful of the latest states of grace that we can enter into.
So this is the most interesting time in human history. And because I am around and see projects working, and a lot that don't work, but still I see the ones that are working. I see the rise of women who are making phenomenal difference, because their emphasis is on process rather than on product, on making things cohere, grow. I see the great cross-fertilizations of the religions, looking for the common spiritual basis of everything. So much is happening that ultimately I am hopeful. It starts in very simple things, but it can be something in one's own life. One decides to be joyous. One decides to make a difference. One decides to pursue that artwork that one has forgotten about. And suddenly, by doing that artwork, what happens? Suddenly one feels oneself burgeoning, ebullient, blooming. Mm-hmm. The upstart spring, and it affects your family, it affects your friends, it suddenly affects your neighborhood, you see. Mm-hmm. Never doubt. And then you get together with other people. Margaret Mead saying to me years ago, as she told so many, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And that phrase, that's a trim tab factor, that phrase has empowered, has activated, has ignited so many people and so many groups. Mm-hmm. That these are the times we are the people. This is the most critical time in human history. And what we do will profoundly make a difference as to whether we grow or die. Because being out there in the world so much, seeing people taking on projects to make a better world, seeing so much goodness, it belies what our papers are telling us, because our media is really geared to what? It's to economics. And being geared, it wants to keep people, alerted and fearful and appeal to that old brain of survival, and give that kind of tang of excitement. But quite frankly, the world that I live in and the world that I see is one, yes, of terrible problems, but at the same time, a world in which factors are unique in human history, people are reaching out to other people and are making a difference. The human heart can go to the lengths of God. Dark and cold we may be, but this is no winter now. The frozen misery of centuries cracks, breaks, begins to move. The thunder is the thunder of the flood, the flow, the upstart spring. Thank God our time is now, when wrong comes up to meet us everywhere, never to leave us, till we take the longest stride of soul men ever took. Affairs are now soul-sized. The enterprise is exploration into God. What are you making for? It takes so many thousand years to wake. But will you wake for pity's sake?